All right, we are live, and you'll see that this is my favorite part. You see the number ticking up. You look down at participants, and it's just like all the numbers and everyone's coming in. And we'll start seeing names that we recognize and names that have been on every single one of these webinars. We really appreciate it. Carolyn, thank you for being back. As you log on, especially individuals that have been here before or are new to the webinar, you know the drill. Let us know who you are. Mr. Gonzalez, nice to see your name again. Can't wait until I can see your face, my friend. But let us know. Give us a shout out. Tell us hello. Teresa, good to see you. Iowa's in the house. Watch out. All names that you're going to recognize. Joey, already getting a shout out on the chat. What's this all about?
Could go either way. It could be good news or bad news.
No secrets. No secrets on the webinar. Yeah, we don't share any secrets. It's, you know, all good. Sandy from Myrtle Beach. Hey, Sandy. Love it. Love seeing everyone that is logging on here. We are going to have such a great conversation today. We do a run through, right? We do a run through before we get on to make sure everybody's working and check that everybody understands everything. And that run through generally lasts like, 10, 15 minutes. The five of us talking for like 30 plus until we finally, I think it was Charlene that said, I got to go back to work, because we could have just kept talking when you see each other. It's so great to reconnect, and that's what's great about these webinars. What's great about Zoom? Who knew? Who knew? We would all love, this is our outlet, so we can see each other when we're not together as many times a year as we normally are. That number is going to keep rising, but I have no doubt after talking with this great group of panelists that we are going to have a lot of to talk about today, and we're going to have. Oh look, Amy Johnson. How are you, Amy? Right here from Tampa, right around the corner from me. We haven't seen each other. Good to see you on the call. We are going to have so much to talk about and so many questions. So I really want to jump right in so we can use all of the time that we can. And Tony Sakara, I get sidetracked. It's like I'm the dog and the squirrel, in that movie Up, because I see all of these names of people that I haven't seen in forever. Tony Sakara being one of them. We grew up together in the domestic market and then went our separate ways, and he's back in the state of Florida now. So welcome home, Tony. We have been doing these. Anyone new? We have been doing these for about 11 weeks now. And it's really interesting to go through and watch. If you haven't seen them, go to our website, connecttravel.com/webinars. They're all on demand there. What I find really interesting is how the conversation has moved from the end of March to now. Everyone was really positive in March. Hey, this is going to come back. And then, kind of mid-April and May, everyone got really sad. There was a depression there of how are we going to move through this? And now things are opening again. And I know our panelists have some amazing things to share with us on what they're thinking, how they're moving forward, and what they might have going for the end of this year. So before we jump into it, I should, say welcome. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Sherry Bailey. I am the Vice President of Connect Travel and have been moderating this series since the beginning. So thank you for tuning in. We've been having a great time. And the series are not possible without sponsors and people logging in, but Betsy Cooper from Tour Operator Land has been our sponsor throughout all of these. I know Betsy's on the call, so Betsy, thank you very much for continuing to maintain a presence for these webinars. So without further ado, we're going to get going. We have some superstars on this panel. So I would like just to start out with everyone introducing themselves, and if you haven't worked with them, maybe tell a little bit about what your company focuses on. And Gary, you're to my left when I'm looking at the screen. It's like, Hollywood squares here. But Gary, you go ahead and we'll start with you.
All right, thank you. Gary Haverkamp. I'm with Vacations by Rail. We are owned by a company out of the UK called Great Rail Journeys. And VBR, Vacations by Rail, is primarily, we're about 50% independent, 50% escorted. Now we're concentrating more on North America, but we do rail programs all over the world. Every product that we put out for sale has to have at least one rail component in it. Prior to VBR, I've been in the industry about 40 years with a retail company and with an airline and with a couple of other operators over the years, but that's what VBR does.
Awesome. So glad that you're here. Can't wait to hear more about some of the things you have planned later in the year. We're going to, Suzanne, what's going on in the sports world and in the authentic California vacation world?
Morning, everybody. Those of you who know me know that I have a couple of different things and brands that I do. Sports Empire is not doing much right now because although we're going to start opening up some of the venues, but are they spectator lists? So it's been challenging for us differently than some of the other operators. So I like to participate so I can hear as well as what others are doing. So we're hoping that the Kentucky Derby will kick our life back off on the new date, which is Labor Day weekend. So we're hopeful for September. But since then, we've been promoting our Authentic California Vacations brand, which is, so Sports Empire is like 35 years old. And then Authentic California Vacations is about 12 years old. A lot of California and the wineries are opening this weekend, so we're ready. So we've been promoting that more with some Facebook marketing, remembering that we're a B2B, so we only market through other travel professionals. We're a true wholesaler. So we've been doing some kind of that marketing and a lot of e-blasting.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. And Joey, when we talked, you have lots of things to talk about as we get into this conversation, but tell us a little bit about the company and you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Joey Spellerberg, and I own Moostash Tours. We're here in Fremont, Nebraska. And our main market is the senior market. We deal 95% with just retail tours that we promote. And we've been in business since 1975. We are a family business. My wife and brother work in the business. My dad started it. And so, yeah, the last few months have definitely had our ups and downs. I'm a lot more positive. I see a light at the end of the tunnel here as we begin reopening and starting again. And I'll be excited to share with you all some things that we're doing and how our customers are feeling right now, because I do think there's a sense of it's time to get back and travel again. It's just what are we going to do as an industry to help them feel comfortable doing that? And so in that transition phase this year, I think there's still a lot of opportunity. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be on the call and speak with you all.
So happy you're here. And I think everyone on this call is shaking their head and agreeing with you right now. It's time to get traveling again. How do we do it together? Let's get it done. And last but certainly not least, or saving the best for last, Charlene. Charlene, how are you, my friend? You just took a trip, so you're already traveling.
Pardon me? Yes, I am. I'm in New Orleans. It was our first flight we made yesterday. Very unusual to be on a plane with 20 people. It was the closest I'll probably ever come to flying in a private plane. But I'm with Breakaway Tours. We've been in business 29 years. I'm one of the owners. The other one is my business partner. Many of you know Chris Slavitter. We normally run between 150 and 200 motor coach tours per year. Plus we have a travel agency for outbound cruises, mostly cruises in Europe and Disney. But of course, everything came to a halt March 20th. We're starting to get back. We had furloughed everyone. We've got some of them back. We hired my granddaughter a year and a half ago. She said within her first year, she fell off a bus and hurt her ankle. She had a workers' claim comp, and then she had her first unemployment compensation claim. So she's had an eventful first year and a half. She's hanging in there, so I think she's going to make it. We're looking forward to getting started August 1st. So it's an experiment. So far, we seem to have clients that are willing to travel. Our first big trip will be Myrtle Beach, Sandy, August 9th. Right now, we're coming with 27, and that may increase a little bit. We're not going to let too many more on the coach. So we're looking forward to see what the future holds, but it looks like possibly we're going to make it.
I think we're all going to make it, and we're going to make sure that we work together to do that. So we're going to jump in because we've talked about, we know what the challenges are, we know what we're facing, but I think Charlene on the call earlier this week, you said for a while there, Tuesday was like Refund Tuesday.
Yes,
so,
absolutely. Yes, the stack
so,
just.
Let's talk just a little bit about refunds versus rescheduling, because some of the trends that we've seen is hey, we don't want a refund right now. We want to travel when it's safer to travel. So is that the trend that you're seeing in your companies as well? And Charlene, we'll start with you since you kicked off Refund Tuesday.
Okay, we're giving our clients the complete option. We don't require them to reschedule. I've had several, we do about 75% retail Joe and 25% preform groups. The groups, some have rescheduled, and many of our clients have been so understanding and so gracious, and not even knowing what they want to reschedule, just saying, please keep my money, I'll use it for something down the road, which is so moving. I mean, these are people that will kill their mother for $5 in normal times, but everybody seems to have the sense that we're in this together. We probably had to refund maybe 300 or 400 checks so far, or chargebacks. But there's a lot of people that are willing to keep their money in the pot and are hoping to reschedule. We've rescheduled our Ocean City. We rescheduled from May to September. We've rescheduled Nashville from April to September. We have some other trips we've rescheduled for October and November. So as far as Breakaway is concerned, we're really trying for the reschedule. The clients, we're putting the ball in their court, because we want to maintain the trust.
That's amazing. Good for you. Joey, I'm going to come to you for a minute, because when we talked about refunds and what we were doing, what you guys were doing to make people feel more comfortable to come out and book, you've done some amazing things in the company to reassure your clients. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo a lot of what Charlene's talked about is we've really been flexible with our clients over the past few months. In Nebraska, we've been able to be open. Our office, we have a big enough office where we can social distance. So we've been all we've really been doing is processing refunds and trying to schedule. A thing that I definitely wanted to keep is that trust with our customer. And we have no questions asked. You want a refund, we're giving it to them. And we're also offering our rescheduled date, but we're giving flexibility to them. And the one thing that we have to maintain here is a trust throughout this process. And I feel I just feel very good about where we're at and the work that we put in to keep that going. What we have done moving forward is we've come out with a peace of mind policy. And we actually did that June 1st when Nebraska kind of reopened their guidelines a little bit. And everything in June has been canceled. But we had a couple tours in July that have had enough people on them to where still that we could give them a shot if things were open, which they are opening. And so a part of that peace of mind policy is we're not only trying to give our customers trust when it comes to booking. When they book at this point, we're offering them a full refund up until the day of departure, no questions asked. We want to make sure that they're comfortable about going. From a vendor standpoint, a DMO and supplier, I will just ask during this time frame, it's going to require a lot of flexibility from you to help us, because we're trying to get people to your destination. So when it comes to terms and contracts and things like that, we're going to have to be extremely flexible with our customer, because that's the only way they're going to have the trust to be able to go and ability. The other thing that we did that was pretty out, we really thought hard about it was the half capacity motor coach. So we're not going to operate for the foreseeable future with more than 26 people on a motor coach. So a lot of our goal was to make sure that our customers know that we're putting them first. We're giving them flexibility and putting their safety and health first. And we're hoping that's going to drive some bookings coming up into the future. I have often said too that, you know, depending on the fall schedule, we already have 26 or more on some tours. So it might be a little scarcity of our inventory and there might be some wait lists, but that may also help us get that word of mouth going again once we start. I just personally think that the biggest thing that we can do is to get started again, if it's possible, and just get people traveling again. And then we'll start building some momentum. You know, obviously we got to watch the health guidelines and what's going on, but I think we're all seeing things open up right now. So those are some of the things that we're doing along with our motor coach company, with all kinds of cleaning and procedural guidelines that they're offering to make our customers feel like we're putting them first. So for you and your destination and attraction, you know, that's going to be the most important thing right now, is making sure when we come to you that we know that you're doing everything you can to make our customer feel like you're putting their safety first. And if you do that, our customers are ready to travel. I'm getting calls and say, hey, let's go. So those are some things that we've been doing that I think are encouraging as we get started. But it's going to be a team effort by all of us to kind of work together and be flexible.
Absolutely. So knowing that, and I know the people on these that are calling in, I see their names. I know that they're going to want to provide you the information that
Yes.
they can on their clean and safe. Should they send it to you directly? Should they label a subject line, anything, so it's easier to get to you? I don't want you to be inundated,
No.
but I want people to give you the information that you need.
Yeah, you know, how we're handling that is I have a couple of my team members just reaching out to vendors on our tours coming up that we could run right now. And we're getting, are you open? You know, what are your updated guidelines? And, you know, be ready with a form, email, or something that you have with your destinations on what each attraction, hotel is doing, and your partners to, you know, help keep help keep safety and health first in our minds. I don't know if if we're not working with you yet at this point, I don't know if you need to be doing that to everybody, but definitely if you have tours booked with people and groups, I would be putting that together and getting them that information immediately, you know, and gathering all that with your partners, and then getting that information to them and saying, hey, look what we're doing. You know, look what we're doing for you. Let's do this. We're open, ready for you, you know?
Absolutely. And I know they've been working on that, and anyone on the call and DMOs as a whole have really been trying to work with everyone within their community to make sure they have the right information. And yes, Suzanne, jump right in.
Thank you. I might even take that the next step, because I'm getting emails from companies that there's just not an opportunity between us. So I have no problem, and I respect that you're emailing, because we're emailing our customers as well. But I also have taken it a step further, and I am reaching out each week to 10 customers. It's just the number I chose. So if you're a DMO and Charlene's coming to Myrtle Beach, if I was Sandy, I would be on the phone. So I would strategically actually call those that you know have trips coming to your destination first. So just like we always do in sales, our A list, our B list, and our C list. So I would spend a lot more time with the A list right now, because Sports Empire is not coming, because if you don't do the Kentucky Derby, you're not high on my list right now, or California. So I'm happy to get an e-blast from you, because what I'm doing with those is I'm kind of seeing if you're saying anything, if I can glean anything from yours that maybe I can use, that, you know, that you're smarter than I am, something that you're saying that I can put out to my customers. But if it doesn't really apply to me, you know, specifically, we are kind of starting to get inundated again. And just Sandy, speaking of Sandy, I see on the chat, so you're asking about sports teams. So if you're asking that to me, remember I do adults to big events. I'm assuming you're looking for kids. So I don't know if anyone else on the call does sport team kids that can help Sandy with her question.
I just wanted to add that if you're suggesting that the people call us, you have to be mindful of which state we're in, because we just now are allowed to be in our office 2 days a week. So we're not always, you have to be patient, leave messages, because we'll come into 150 messages that we have to return. It's hoping in the next couple of weeks we can have a fuller schedule, but we can't yet.
All looking forward to that. And Gary, you know, so kind of on the same topic, we'll wrap up this question. I know that you had a lot of reschedules for 2021. You're doing similar things with motor coaches, but you're looking at some new things moving into the year too.
We had a very high percentage of canceled bookings that have moved to 2021, 81% actually. So we are on strategic products. We are going out and getting more space for 2021 because we already have sold out dates. And there would be no room for new bookings. So we're doing that. We also, to help garner some confidence in the traveler, we reduced our deposit requirements and made it refundable up to a certain period of time, so we could at least get more business on the books. We did do the travel voucher thing, so that probably forced a lot of, or is the reason for that high transfer rate. But we felt it was necessary to retain the business. I mean, if we just gave them their money back, most of these have traveled with us before, and so the confidence was already there that we can provide a good product. And we quickly got our 2021 rest of the dates on the website, so our call center had a place to move these people to. So it's been a learning experience, as it has been for all. I would also echo Joey's comment that any information that a supplier can give us, because we're doing the same thing, we're contacting those suppliers, trying to figure out what their requirements are going to be post-COVID. And because we have tours that cross many states, sometimes borders, we're going to have to take the lowest denominator and put that in our documents to the traveler. So having information, maybe masks are required in one place, but you cross the state line and they're not required. So that's what we're trying to gather, so that people can feel like we're transparent in providing information.
I just had an idea. So maybe DMOs, if you could provide us with consumer-facing text that we can cut and paste into our itineraries. So I know that might be helpful instead of us having to recreate it. If you can send us, yes, masks are required, except blah, blah, whatever a visitor to your state would need to know, that could be something that we could cut and paste.
That's a great suggestion, and one I'm sure everyone's writing down right now that they can get information out to.
At one, I'm done.
So we're going to move on and start talking a little bit about, we've talked about rebooking and rescheduling, and you've talked to your consumers, you want them to trust you. I'm sure everyone here is curious as to what you're hearing from them on that consumer sentiment. Do they feel like they're safe to travel? What's going to make them feel like they're safe to travel? And for everyone all of our attendees, remember we have the Q&A open. So if you have some specific questions, type them in there. I'll look for them in the chat as well. But reach out if you have a question and let us know. So Joey, you specifically mentioned you really are trying to build that trust within your clients. What have you been hearing from them that are their sticking points? What are they interested in?
Yeah, I've kind of said, you know, as we're talking with our customers, there's about 25% of them that are really shooken up about this. I mean, I don't know if they're going to travel this year, next year. They're going to really hold on and wait. Then I have about 25% that are saying, I don't care what's going on. If things are open, we are going. Okay. Then I say we got this 50% that are hanging on the edge. They're saying, well, Joey, what are you going to do? What is Moostash Show Tours going to do to make me feel safe and secure when I'm on a tour? And after I see you do that, then I'm going to decide if I'm going to go right now. So the approach that I have taken is we have kind of come out, like I said, right in front with a peace of mind policy that and have tried to drive the bookings and let people know, hey, this is what we're doing for you. And, you know, and that, you know, seems to be working. I mean, we haven't really totally got our marketing programs going again because we're trying to conserve some money right now. As money's tight right now. I mean, trying to keep my people and trying to pay rent and all our overhead and trying to, you know, begin to operate tours. It's almost like starting again. But I just believe that demand's going to be there. And if we can get through this fall and we look to next year, like Gary was saying, you know, we could be busier than we've ever been. I mean, considering we haven't traveled, you know, our customers haven't traveled for 6 months or so here. And on all those bookings, along with the additional that we could have, you know, if sentiment really changes, you know, through this year and into next year, you know, it could be more business than what we could handle. I mean, that's my best case scenario. Now, I don't know if that's going to be there, but I think this.
Is that a happy problem?
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree, though.
And Suzanne, what are you hearing? I know you're Kentucky Derby, just throwing it out there. Are you hearing from your clients about travel there?
Well, we have taken Derby bookings for 2021. What happened with us this year when they moved the date is 50% of the guests are coming in with us in September. And then 25% booked for 2021 and 25% asked for a refund. So we were pretty pleased with that. And we have taken bookings for 2021 moving forward. And I'm getting California inquiries for the fall. So, but this summer we're done. Summer's over. I mean, even if they go play baseball and NASCAR, there's no spectators for the summer. So we're hopeful for the fall.
Fingers crossed for the fall for you.
Yeah.
So Gary, one, let's talk about what you're hearing from your clients, and two, there's a question about looking for new products, since you were kind of looking for extra space for some of your tours. Are you looking for new suppliers in those areas as well? And I know some of what you do is we're a rail.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that for a little bit.
We'll always review new product possibilities, of course. But because we're a rail company, there has to be some access to, you know, either scenic or passenger rail service, something that we can include in the program. We always have been more of a rural, you know, we've not really focused on big cities, New York or Washington, D.C. and so forth, other than it be the meeting place where the tour may start there just because there's good airlift. But we've never really concentrated on big cities that much. It's always been more away out in the countryside, national parks, that kind of thing. As far as what we're hearing from the customer, you know, they booked once, and if the tour canceled, you know, when our marketing people had all of us in senior management start listening to calls from the call center, just so we could hear what the customer was saying. And they want to travel. You know, it wasn't their fault that the tour got canceled or that they couldn't go this year. So they want to go. It's just waiting on when. And I think for some, for a percentage, I don't know what that percentage is, they're not probably going to travel until there's adequate testing or a vaccine. That's just the way it is. But the rest, the majority, really do want to travel and they're ready to go.
I see in the chat, Jean is asking about recession and
Right,
unemployment. I'm not sure our travelers, most of them probably doesn't affect them that much. And I would think a lot of the seniors that the others cater to. I'm not sure that's as big of the issue. You know, 1, 2, 3, that would be third over a vaccine, you know, social distancing. So I'm hopeful that the economy and recession is not going to be the biggest stumbling block. I think it's more safety is the stumbling block.
Agreed.
I agree also. Mm-hmm.
And Gary, you mentioned airlift, right, specifically. So we do have a question from Alfredo about low fare carriers. And, you know, they're picking up, they're busier now. Flights in general, you know, carriers have opened up new routes or put back in routes that they took out. Low fare carriers, does that affect any of what you're doing, or are you working together? Is there an opportunity to work together with them?
Well, we don't handle air. We don't have an air department. So we always, getting to the start of the tour is the responsibility of the guest. So we don't do contract air, group air, or even individual air. We don't do it at all. So I'm probably not the best person to ask that question to, but in general, I would say if those fares are low, that's going to be an even bigger enticement to get those people to fill the seats.
Absolutely.
We do, and the answer is yes.
So yes, it's working in your favor.
It'd be great, yes.
So, you know, we talked on this crew, especially that calls into these webinars every week, very curious how they can help you. And we touched on that a little bit, Suzanne, when you talked about maybe your consumer facing messaging that you could utilize in some of your messaging to your clients. Are there other ways that anyone can partner with you on marketing, whether it be providing information for you? We know openings and closings and new regulations, safe and clean, that they may have. But what about some of your messaging that any of our DMOs or attractions that you utilize can use to promote you as well?
Well, it's always unique opportunities as well. So you want to hook these days so that the guest coming with you versus doing it themselves often, because my guests don't really, since they're not always senior and looking for a motor coach experience, our guests are looking for that authentic experience. Or, you know, so we do picnics in the vineyard. So if there's any opportunities that, you know, that's a unique, that can be shared with us, that it's a good time to use, that's what I'm always looking for. And when I jump on webinars, I know I just got a call today from an email from a California destination that I don't hear from too often. And I'm going to take the webinar next week just to see if there's something new and going on there. I guess there was another question. Are you looking for new destinations? We're looking for anything that will sell. If there's something at your destination we don't know about that's totally safe, then you should reach out.
Also, I spoke with you a little bit earlier about this, Sherry. The biggest thing we can use, and I'm sure this applies to Joe as well right now, if you're a DMO, a CVB, whatever, and you know if your state's welcome centers are open, if there's a place, we have to get to these destinations. Sometimes you guys forget that we don't just appear magically at your door, and I appreciate that a lot of you know better, but we need to know if there's a place that we can let these people off the coach to use a restroom, if there's a place that we can feed them, or if we have to plan for the eventuality of a box lunch. in addition to the masks and the distancing, we just need to know physically what there is. That we can't have a bus pull in and say, I'm sorry, you can't unload the coach. That's the biggest obstacle for us to getting the coaches moving again.
This is a perfect opportunity for tracking. All these years, DMOs, you've always asked us for tracking. Well, it's now we can reach out to you because we really need you. And now this is a good time to prove our partnership, why we need our DMOs so much.
Yeah, and I would say, looking at 2021 and next year, I was, me and my brother do most of the planning, and we're really looking at, maybe how do we get people back on a tour again? If people are leery and they're, maybe we're thinking shorter trips, more regional around our area. We're looking at maybe more outdoors. We're looking at, some different things post COVID-19. And I think, we're going to have to develop some trips to get people back, maybe 1 overnight, 2 overnights, and then back. And it's almost I think we'll have to reintroduce some of the market to what we're doing. So as a DMO, when you're looking at developing your itineraries, I think it's only going to help that you have a post COVID-19 plan, in your itineraries. What are you doing? I don't think that's not going to go away, next year. I'm probably at some of the shows probably going to ask you, what is your plan even after this is over, maybe, and what are you doing for the health and safety of my client? Because I still think now it's going to be ingrained into their mind. So I don't think that's going to go necessarily away right when there's a vaccine or whenever we think that date is. I think that's probably going to continue. So just be thinking about those things when you're looking at itineraries and destinations and your partners. Because those are some of the conversations that we're starting to have as we look to the future.
I totally agree with that, Joe. And you're in Nebraska. Where you are. We're Pittsburgh, so we're more Eastern Seaboard. So a huge chunk of our destinations are gone. I don't think we're going to get a bus back to New York City for at least 12 to 18 months. DC is going to be questionable. Sorry, Rich, Baltimore is going to be questionable. I mean, any of the big cities, even in, we can't even cross the border right now, but Toronto, all these places that are a 5 to 7 hour drive for us are going to be off the table. So we have to find new, more rural, even if it's something that's close to these other destinations. For instance, I saw the gal from Hudson Valley. That's still going to run. I mean, we have an October trip that's probably going to run. Maybe you guys step up. I mean, I feel my heart bleeds for the poor New York kids, but I just don't think we're going to get our timid Midwestern travelers back to the big city for a little while yet. And I know we're not going to get the school kids back up there for a while. So, and another thing, if you have any itineraries for school kids that would be deemed safe, it's still going to be a while before school boards are going to say, yes, go ahead. But in the meantime, if we can be developing some things, I remember years and years ago when it wasn't, it was SARS, I think, and we would send them maybe to Cincinnati and Cleveland and places that aren't traditional student trips. So just be thinking a little bit outside the box, because that's certainly what we're going to have to do. And I wanted to tell you before I forget, Joe, I know this isn't for us to talk personally, but we've offered the cancellation for any reason for the last 20 years, and it works out okay. You don't lose your shirt. It's all right. The customers don't abuse it. Okay.
That's just us coming together here. So, talking about, and Charlene and Joe, you guys both mentioned rural destinations. So you started talking about, hey, we're looking at more rural destinations, more outside areas. Suzanne, you talked about picnics outside. Gary, when you're looking at new areas or contracting new areas, are you seeing the same thing or hearing the same thing from your clients? Are they
right now we're pushing the beach trips because they're televising that. People are comfortable with that. We've already had full buses booked, so we've been calling the people. Myrtle Beach, for instance, we had a full bus, and right now we're at 27 that are willing to go. So that really bears out Joe's prediction with the percentages. So we haven't really tried any of the destinations that are more populated, that are tighter. We are going to try a trip to Niagara Falls, New York, because we don't know how the Canadian border is going to work out. Frankly, I just don't know. I mean, as I said, Hudson Valley, they have population centers, but you can still distance. So I guess that's what the people are comfortable with. Frankly, most of the people that we call that are willing to travel don't care where they're going to go. The funniest part of the market that we've seen, and possibly you as well, Joe, is the gaming market. These people want to go to a casino. They don't care. So we have to keep explaining to them, I'm sorry, it's canceled. The casinos are not open. But
if Vegas is in the house, they're going to say they're open. So, you know, maybe
they're dying.
And
the
Oh,
casinos
Las
that
Vegas
are-
is open.
right, but the local casinos that are cautiously opening, and by local I mean as far away as Sorrento and, you know,
Sure.
within 7-8 hours, they're not ready for motor coach yet because they're opening at 50% capacity. So it's so hard to explain. This segment of our market is probably our most mature. As someone said, they use mature instead of old because we're getting old. But that was you, Gary, I think.
Yeah.
But if that segment of the market, it's so hard to get it through their head that just because the casino's open doesn't mean we can rush in there with 4 coaches. We haven't even gotten permission yet for 1 half full coach, and they'll have to mask. But that's a little bit of a problem we're having. It'll sort itself out. I think a lot of this will sort itself out as we travel.
It's just a matter of how long,
And
yeah.
it's just these first ones that are so nerve-wracking. I haven't been nervous on a bus for 20 years, but I will be on that Myrtle Beach. So when I was telling someone, I wanted to share this also with you, Joe, and we should just maybe talk to each other.
Yeah. Takes a webinar, right?
We're planning to have our
Yes.
driver and tour director mask when they check people in. When the driver handles the luggage, we're going to have the people require them to mask as they board the coach and as they disembark. But when they're in their seat, we're going to make it at their discretion. We're going to require them to mask every time they disembark because some of the destinations will require it at any rate. But this is a big tripping point. These, especially the older folks, they don't want to sit in their seat with the mask on. And it is a pain in the butt. I just had to do it on the plane. And I figured out a way I can trap it under my glasses and have a corner so I could breathe. So
There you
it's like
go. Everyone's going to
was
come up
on.
with
But
their own
we're
way
not-
there.
we're not going to require them to wear the mask in the seat. And I'm sure you know about all the new, we had to do words I've never used, electrostatic sprayers and all this stuff that the buses are going to be disinfected every night, and we'll do the high touch areas, which I'm saying are probably the railings and the bathroom handle. Would you agree? That's what we're doing anyway, to
Yeah.
make them feel safe. We cannot totally socially distance. So we're making them sign a waiver. If they're not willing to be in a situation where they cannot socially distance, we don't want them to go. And frankly, I don't think they will. They're within that 25% that you spoke of, Joe, that's just putting the brakes on. But we're going to cap it at 30. We're not going to go with the 26. So we can leave a party, an empty seat, a party, an empty seat. And again, you folks, the DMOs and so forth, your hotels are going to have to be understanding that these are not going to be 24 rooms. These are probably going to be 10 to 15, maybe even less than 10. I got a email from Gaylord Opryland 2 days ago that said they're willing to have us come with 15 people with 2 comp packages. Now that's working with the tour operator.
That was
Okay.
something I was going to say, that, you know, how can you help us, you know, through the end of the year, if you can treat whatever business we bring you at our rate, at our, you know, tour operator rates, that would be important for partnering, and then, you know, growing together as the business grows. You've made a friend. So that would be something that would help us out on your end.
I love this. And I knew this conversation was just going to be constant, which I am adoring right now. We do have a couple of questions. And Gary, we're going to start with you, because one specifically for you is, what is Vacations by Rail doing right now to make customers feel safe? Rail journeys, are they operating right now or soon? what can you tell us about those rail journeys? And then for everyone, we'll jump in to start thinking about it. We know we're doing more outside. We know we're doing more to make our customers feel safe, but does that also mean shorter and closer to home? Or are you going to tackle some multi-state and multi-day? So keep that in mind, but we're going to go to Gary first to talk about rail.
So that is a challenge because some of our trips do include Amtrak. And right now they are requiring masks. They are reducing the number of cars on a train, certainly reduced the number of bedrooms and roomettes available. So that will impact some of our groups. For the historic or the scenic trains, a lot of them are still waiting for their states to come out with their plan. For example, in Colorado, that has a lot of scenic rail excursions. I've heard from one, they've cut capacity to 50%. So far, our group size has had enough cancels so that we fit within that. But we have some others on that same series in Colorado where we are probably going to have to run 2 coaches if we don't take any more cancellations. So, you know, we're still gathering that information as on a weekly basis, I'm contacting the rail companies to find out what their plan is, because it will affect our inventory and how we proceed. We are in the process of developing then a document, kind of a 2-level document, one that will go out immediately that's kind of high level, general safety guidelines that will go out to everybody who's on the books for something that could depart later this year. And then we're going to have a more detailed document that will be part of their travel documents that they received just prior to departure that has the specifics. But our first escorted tour doesn't go out now until September 4th. And so we have really about a month or 5 weeks before documents will have to go out. So we're trying to gather as much information now so we can put that document together. So when the customer receives the information, they, you know, it's full disclosure of what's going to be required.
Perfect. So jumping back into the other question we have about shorter and closer to home, or multi-day. Joey, I'm going to come to you. Is that kind of changing how you're focused on your tours?
Yeah, yes, I would say yes and no. No to the fact that most of the stuff that we had planned this year that was canceled, we're going to operate again next year. And most of those are 8, 9, 10 day. I mean, I would say the majority of our itineraries that leave from Nebraska are longer than 7 days. For new planning, I would say new things we're looking at, yes, we're going to be looking at kind of introductory tours to get people back into traveling next year. And we're probably going to offer more of those than maybe we think we can even sell, just to give people options that they want to get back and do again. So, you know, another thing that, you know, I'm a little concerned about, and I think we probably all are in the industry, is, you know, the liability of what happens if someone on our tour is showing symptoms or as having, could possibly have the virus. So, you know, dealing with the liability forms and that sort of thing, that's what makes me a little nervous. What I stay up at night and think about is how are we going to handle someone that is showing symptoms on our motor coach, and what do we do there? So that tends to lean me towards shorter trips, you know, just because we're not out so much, you know. So those are considerations I'm thinking about when I'm looking at planning. And so, but like next year, for instance, I'm still gonna go with all the stuff we had planned. We're gonna do it again next year and offer it again. And a lot of the dates people have moved, and so there are some unknowns, and that's what goes back to Charlene, that liability form. And yes, we have, it's going to be very important that, we're going to have one that they will have to sign, that they're, that they understand the risks. And so if that's the case, and we shouldn't have that, I shouldn't have that nervousness or fear anymore about that. So,
times we're all nervous. Are you going to take temperatures, Joe?
No,
we're not either.
We're not going to take temperatures, and I agree with you on the mask part. We have gotten so many people that said, if you make us wear a mask on the motor coach, we're not going. And I've had more of those people that call than say, well, the opposite of that. I hardly have anybody say, oh, are you going to wear a mask on the motor coach? And if not, I'm not going to go. It's our people, it's been the other opposite way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with politics. It's all to do with. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, that is very hard. We're trying to keep the customer experience the same that we offered before, and
we're gonna instruct our tour directors to stay out of the aisle though, are you?
Yeah.
I mean, we're telling the people, bring your own snacks. We're not going to be the font of your goodies. We can't have that FaceTime,
No,
so
right.
I have some escorts I'm going to have to lash to the seat.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in real quick because a great question just came up from a DMO's perspective. You talked about what if someone gets ill? You're trying to figure out what to do. Is this information, what can a DMO provide you about their destination covering those types of emergencies?
Access to the closest urgent care. And we're going to require clients that are exhibiting symptoms to visit an urgent care and be tested before they're allowed back on the motor coach. The part of that plan we have not come up with is what if they test positive? I'm inclined to throw the ball into their court that they and their family can get them home, because I know if we put them on the motor coach, the protocols are ridiculous. The CDC, I'm sure you know, Joe, they want them to bring that bus home, have a deep cleaning, and have it sit empty in the open air for 72 hours after that happens. Well, we can't really, and we're also concerned with contact tracing. We're going to put on the waiver that they have to contact us within 2 weeks if they, excuse me, it's not a symptom, it's chronic. If they experience symptoms within 2 weeks and are tested positive, that they have to let us know, because we in turn have to let all of our clients know that they've been exposed. So it's a real can of worms.
So that's a good point. So because we were talking about a waiver, and a lawyer friend said she thought it might be overkill. But I'm thinking the part about if you get sick, you're on your own,
right,
to go to the nearest urgent care, get tested, and then if positive, get yourself home. Are you putting that on the waiver?
Yeah, this is so against our normal policies.
Well, of course,
we really don't know what else to do. I mean, you can't put 29 other people at risk because of one. So I really think that's the direction we're leaning, but we're definitely going to require them to get tested. So if you guys can let us know any destination we're going to, a list of 2 or 3 urgent cares and people that have testing available.
I know a lot of the insurance companies aren't covering cancellations for COVID, but I'm wondering if they're doing evacuations. So like, by the way, here's the waiver, here's an insurance policy you could buy.
We're doing what they're doing, and we're self-insuring, so it really doesn't apply in our case. We just this year had decided to, all of our trips that were over $700, we were going to go with travel insured, and that turned out that it's not going to work out this year.
Certainly information that I know that we can have a whole nother hour conversation on.
Absolutely.
I promised you guys this would go quick, and we're down to our last 6 minutes if anybody hasn't checked the time, and we could keep talking for another hour, I'm sure. So I do want to get to one quick question. We talked a little bit about Gaylord and providing comps for 15 rooms. We talked about cancellation policies and your partners working with you. After 9/11, after the recession, after oil spills in Florida, we in Louisiana and the Gulf, everybody came back differently, and everybody required different things. And I'm talking about enticements or discounts or are you looking for anything in particular that's going to kickstart your tours or help your clients get back on a trip and go someplace?
Frankly,
Gary, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Well, rate, of course, is always nice, but as important to us is the terms and conditions. So over the past few years, there's been a lot of really steep non-refundable deposits required, and that's just got to stop. I mean, cash flow is important to everybody, but speaking from VBR, it's very important for us. And so we're booking all this stuff for 2021, but we're with just a couple of exceptions, we're not putting out money until next year. Those terms have to change. That's as important, if not more important, than the rate itself.
Got it. Suzanne, do you have anything to add?
No, I really don't, but thanks for asking.
Anytime. And Charlene, you were going to say something earlier.
It just, sure, you're the same, Gary, and well, everyone. We're not signing anything with an attrition clause. That's not on the table. And we didn't anyway, but especially now. And again, as you said, your liberal deposit policies and refund policies, because that's what we have to offer.
Wonderful. And Joey, is it the same for attractions, or is there anything that unique that attractions can do for you, or any other activity?
Yeah, I think the comp policy is going to have to go down. I mean, we're taking smaller groups. I mean, we're sacrificing short term for the long term gain. I mean, our most important thing is, like I said, that build that trust with the customer. And so, yes, we're taking half capacity, but that was a partnership between my motor coach company to be able to do that. We're not going to make a bunch of money doing that this year. But that, to me, that's not my goal. I mean, my goal is to get people back on the road again, and then we look to the future. So this is going to take so much flexibility from all of us. And I would echo what Gary said 100%. We are not putting any money down for deposits until next year. I mean, cash flow is, I know we're all with cash flows everywhere.
We're all broke.
Yeah, we're all broke. So, I think, we did get, and I would agree with Gary, we've gotten, attractions and suppliers were getting, the terms were getting unbelievable. I think times were great, and, because times were good, we could put these policies in. Well, we got to back up, because now we got to think about the end user, the end customer, and that is who we're trying to get to go. And the only way we're going to get them to go is if we are flexible with them. And if we're flexible with them, you got to be flexible with us. So
if you want me to sum up a sign of the times, we've just been offered 112 Hamilton tickets from Pittsburgh in January. How about that?
There you go. I'm just thrilled that means that shows are coming back.
Yeah.
That's been a question for everyone. Yeah.
We'll see.
So, really quickly, and I can't believe we're getting great questions. So if we didn't get to your question, we will answer them in our takeaways that we send out tomorrow with the recording of this. But this is a great question on a topic we're talking about. Would you rather see lower rates or a better comp policy if they can only do one?
Has to be both. If they can't do both, we can't comp.
You're a tough negotiator, I bet.
I know, wow.
Hey, 40 years, honey.
Well, I would say, you can always price around a comp. So yeah. Comp policy is great. I'm less concerned about that. I just don't want to have to put out non-refundable deposits.
Got it. More the T's and C's. Look at those cancellation policies.
We're always most concerned about policy, rate, and then comps in that order. Flexibility, my entire career has always been the most important, because we can't take that risk. It's not like we're a meeting where the meeting is going to bring 20 people and the company's paying for it. We're at the mercy of who wants to travel. So terms have always been the most important to our company, and then rate. I've often said, if you want to charge you an extra $1 for that no attrition clause, I'm in.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. So
I would do the
I can't
same.
believe that our hour is up, and I knew this was going to happen with this panel. So I'm going to do one quick question that's a total softball question. We work in tourism when we're all out and traveling again, and Charlene, this doesn't apply to you because you're already out and traveling and you're down in New Orleans. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do when you can get out and travel?
Go to Denver and see my son and my grandkids.
There you go. That's a good one. Joey, what about you?
We're gonna try to plan we're gonna drive down to the beach, I think, Florida. My wife has some family down there. So, you know, we're gonna set the example, and we're gonna take my family and stay in a couple of Drury hotels. I saw Amy is on, so we're gonna do that.
That's awesome. Gary, what about you?
Well, my bucket list is still Antarctica and an African safari. So,
I don't think there's
but
cases
that's
in-
not somewhere I'm going to go next week. Probably someplace in the Caribbean, just to lay in the sun.
Nice. I like it. And Suzanne?
We're hoping to go 4th of July weekend and explore California, some places that we haven't been in a long time, and then drive up towards Salt Lake for some national parks over the summer.
Okay.
So like our customers, I'm still gonna drive. My first flight is not until Labor Day weekend.
Got it.
And I'm gonna try some, stay in hotels, which some friends have said to me, you're gonna stay in a hotel? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stay in a hotel. It's probably clean. Do you have wipes? I said, plenty of wipes, and it's probably cleaner
Those hotels
Than
are
it's ever
cleaner
been. Yeah,
ever
exactly.
than they've ever been.
Yep.
So I will, I should let everyone on the call know there's some great information in the chat. We actually record the chat as well, so I'll make sure that gets in all of the hands of our panelists in case they haven't seen it. Right after we talked about rural versus big cities, whole lot of New Yorkers came on and said, hey, what about Long Island? Alfredo Gonzalez, Long Island, and Jennifer, there's a lot of other places that you can go.
Yeah.
I think everybody that's on the call from Florida has mentioned that our beaches are open. So there you go, Joey. That's for you. We are out of time. We've actually gone over. I promised everybody an hour. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gary and Suzanne and Joey and Charlene. This has been a great conversation, as I knew it would be. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And I know our attendees have a lot of great information that they can take back and put together for you. As always, we will be back next week. We're going to be talking with student tour operators next week. Kind of a different struggle they're going to with trying to figure out if schools even open next year and what that means for their trips. And as always, takeaways will be done with a video, an on-demand video recording that you can send out to partners that we're not able to be on, and that'll go out tomorrow. So again, thank you everyone for continuing to tune in, and I thank our panelists, and I could talk to you for another hour, but I know I promised I wouldn't, but we've already gone over. So what's a few more minutes? So anyone with final thoughts?
Happy traveling. Stay safe.
Stay
Happy
safe and start
traveling.
travel.
Stay safe and be well, everyone. We'll talk to you soon, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks,
Bye.
Sherry. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.